Good morning. Good morning. How the devil are you doing this fine day? Hope you're all fit. Well, hope you're all fit and well. How are you all doing today? Let me know in the chat how we're all coping. Glenn Johnston's just joined us. Lots of other people have joined us, but I've just seen Glenn pop into the chat. Good morning, Glenn. I'm just pressing your button as we speak. Hope we're all fit and well. Good morning, Ron Burgess, 5015 over on Instagram, who's just joined us as well. Good morning to Gary, to Dan, to Peter as well, all of whom are in the chat. If you're in the demolition industry, tell me, can you feel the walls closing in on you at all? Reason I ask is that's the latest news from Building Magazine, which says Westminster Council unveils plans to become a retro-first city. Just to be absolutely clear here, retro-first means demolition last, if ever. That's what it means. Developers to face a carbon offsetting payments up to 9 times higher than current levels if these proposals go through. Developers apparently must explore the option to retrofit before demolishing buildings in Westminster and will face carbon offsetting payments up to 9 times higher than current levels if the new rules proposed by the local authority are adopted. Westminster would become a retrofit city, retrofit first. Let me do that again. Retrofit first city under a new planning policy put forward by the council, aiming to help the borough reach net zero by 2040. Yes, UK demolition contractors, particularly those working in London. What do you make of that? I'm going to say good morning to Mark Whiting. I'm going to say good morning to Mick Norton, to Chris Ford, and to Ken Hatcher. I will press all your buttons in just a moment. And yeah, bloody hell, where's my sunglasses? That shirt's a tad dazzling. Can you see me at the back? Can you see me at the back? I'm glad to hear it. Yes, you know. It's to match my sunny disposition, as I'm sure you're all aware. Right, let me just think. It's going back to that retro first thing. If you should happen to find yourself at an industry meeting, possibly later this month, you might like to ask the powers that be why they're still sitting on their hands and doing nothing to counter this environmental hazard that faces the demolition industry. Now, while you're all thinking about that, it is time to crack on. So let me roll the intro. Let me post the question today and get this show on the road. It is Tuesday, the 5th of March. Welcome to the Breakfast Show. I am your host, Mark Anthony. In today's show, Genesis Attachments unveils a new concrete cracker specifically for demolition robot applications. We're off to see the biggest kit that Turkey has to offer. We're going forward and back. We're going seriously old school with a machine you may not have seen before, and we're going new school with technology so advanced it allows operators to see round corners. Really. And we're looking forward to Intermat 2024 with a look back at the Volvo demonstration from Intermat 2018. So we'll get on with all of that. I've just realised my script has gone slightly squiffy, but there you are. Before we do all of that, we do have the small matter of today's mystery machine. Let's hope we do better today than we did yesterday. So here's the animation. Yeah, let me just take Peter out of the way there when I can find him. There we are. Let me remove that because I think we're all past the fact that my shirt is just a tad bright today. There we go. Here is the machine that I need you to identify. Oh, here's the machine. Here's a bit of the machine you need to identify. Doesn't give a huge amount away, does it? But if anybody's got any guesses on that, would love to hear from you. As always, just let us know in the chat. There is no prizes up for grabs today, but if you would like the admiration of your peers within the Breakfast Show audience, please take a wild stab at what you believe that to be. I'll be revealing a little bit more of that as we go through the show. While you are figuring that out, let me very quickly remind you of our question of the day for today. Yeah, our question of the day today is this. What is a thing that you believe to be totally overrated? It could be a person. And Gary, I've already got you penciled in with Michael McIntyre. As I said, it could be a person, a thing, a product, an organization, just something that you think gets a lot of attention that it doesn't necessarily deserve. Personally, and I realize this is going to have me driven out of the world of internet, I'm going with Taylor Swift. She seems to be absolutely everywhere, but I couldn't name a single Taylor Swift song. That being said, I could say exactly the same for Ed Sheeran as well. But what about you? Who or what do you believe to be rated far more highly than they or it deserves? Let us know in the chat. I'm just going to tell you, I had a couple of quick guesses on the mystery machine, including Dan Cullen says a 360. Peter McKenna says an oversized thingamajig. It is one of those, but I need something a bit more specific. Ken Hatcher says a Hydromec 130. It is not that. Chris Ford says I can see two white lines on my phone screen. Liebherr 946. It is not that. Gary Muirhead says JCB 3CX. Not that either. Let me show you a little bit more, shall I? There we go. That's what you have to work with. That is your mystery machine for the day. And we will come back to that at the very end of the show. Leave that up for just a moment longer so you can fully understand it. Good morning to Footy, who's just joined us as well. I'm going to take that away because it is time to actually get this show started. Yeah, the great and the good of the American demolition sector are scheduled to meet in San Antonio, Texas later this week for a meeting and exhibition hosted by the National Demolition Association. There's going to be lots of very exciting equipment on display, and I must admit, there's a little bit of me that wishes I was there. But one of the hottest new products will come from Genesis Attachments. People won't get to see it over in the States until tomorrow. No, actually, 2 days' time. But we've managed to secure some footage of the new product, so you get to see it even before those at the NDA do. And this is what it looks like. Right. Yes. Interesting to see new attachments being made, specifically in the demolition robot sector. Should we take another look at the mystery machine while we're all huddled together? I am going to go over to here. Dan Cullen says, is it a Volvo 150 loading shovel? It's not a Volvo, but it is a loading shovel. Peter McKenna says, is it a Komatsu loading shovel? It is a loading shovel, but it is not a Komatsu. Mick Norton has gone with a moon buggy. It is certainly not one of those. Gary Muirhead has said a Hydromec. HMK 110CS. It is not that. It is not a WA 470-5 loading shovel either. So, would you like a bit more? Here we go. That's what you've had so far. Let me get that out of the way. Here is your next. Excuse me. Here is the next installment. Tells you basically nothing. And it is not footy. It is not a Liebherr or loading shovel either. But that's what you've got to work with. Any clues, anybody? I'm going to take it away because we do need to press on. I'll be bringing that back in just a moment. First of all, we need a smidgen of this.
If you are enjoying this episode, please consider supporting the show. You can leave us a tip at buymeacoffee.com/demolition news.
Next up, we're heading for Turkey. The country, not the poultry, in the company of those fine folks at Hitachi Construction Equipment. And we're off to see not just the biggest excavator in the whole of Turkey, but also the country's biggest dump truck too. Quite a combo. I think you'll agree. Mick Norton says any face shovel is always poetry in motion. I'm inclined to agree with that. Lots and lots of comments coming through, lots of guesses on our mystery machine, which currently looks like that. Dan Cullen is going with a JCB 457 loading shovel. It is still a loading shovel. It is not a JCB though. Hydrema loading shovel. No, it is not. Devellon loader. It is not. Chris Ford. A Case 1021G loading shovel. It is not. Gary Muirhead. HMK 640. It's not one of those either. A Case 621G case. No, it is not that. Is it a John Deere loading shovel? It is none of those things. None of those things. Let's give you a little bit more to be going on with. I mean, that just gives the game away, doesn't it? Yeah, that's what you've got to work with. Try to make it a little bit harder for you today, just, to keep it interesting. Anybody's got any guesses on that, please let us know in the chat. Even those that are over on Instagram. If you're watching that, I realize it's a tiny screen, but if you're watching and you can identify what that mystery machine is, please let us know in the chat. In the meantime, let's do a little smidgen of this. Let me just have a quick look at the chat. It is not a JCB 418, and it is not another Chinese shovel dumped in the European market. It is none of those things. Just very quickly, I'll flash that up just so you can have a very quick look, and I'm going to take it away because, well, we've got to crack on. At this point in the show, we're going to go old and new. We've got something truly high-tech coming up for you very, very soon. But first, we're going to take a look back at a machine from a bygone age. I'll tell you now, at first glance, the machine you're about to see does look like an excavator designed by an 8-year-old that has never actually seen an excavator. But as the film unfolds, I think you'll agree there are some features on this machine that were perhaps a little bit ahead of their time. Let's take a look. Yeah, very quick good morning to Kappa Group, who have just joined us over on the Instagrams. Yes, that was the Pignon 12A. It was launched way back in 1969, designed and invented by Pierre de Pignon, and it was nicknamed as who was it said it? It was Mick Norton said it was. Absolutely right. It was nicknamed the sitting bull because once it was in position, it basically sat on its own base. That in itself, I think, very smart, ahead of its time. Also, like the skid steer undercarriage as well. Does anybody actually remember seeing one of those? And I certainly don't. And I'm older than God. Don't remember seeing one of those ever before in my life. But let us know in the chat if you ever encountered one of those. We do need to address the small matter of the mystery machine, which has clearly got you scratching your heads today, which is good. Dan Cullen has gone for a Liebherr 556. It's good, but it's not right. Wacker Neuson, WL44, again, good, but not right. Liebherr 586 X-Power, nope. Doosan, DL550-5, it is not. It is not a Liebherr L580. It is not a Cat 950 GC. It is not a Terex TL70. It is not a Terex TL130 loading shovel either, nor is it a Volvo L180G. Yes. Yeah, and Chris Ford reckons the Pignon was designed by a Frenchman who drank too much wine. That's all of them, isn't it? Isn't that all of them? Morning to Lou Carney has just joined us. Morning, Lou. Good to see you in the house. Hope you're all fit and well. So, as Lou has just arrived, let's show you a little bit more of the mystery machine. Does that help at all? Probably not. Probably not, but that's what you've got to work with. That is your mystery machine for today. And while you're figuring that out, let me do this.
Since the finance bill came into effect in April, the construction industry has seen a surge of fuel thefts. The rising cost of living has placed an additional risk of theft by employees and contractors, as well as opportunistic thieves. By using diesel dye and placing warnings of its use, you are sending a clear message that this is your fuel.
I'm just going to tell you, it is not a Terex TL260. It's not a John Deere 544K either. It's none of those things. It's a lot. It's kind of more obvious than that, actually. I realise you're going obscure. It's a bit more obvious than that. Now, we've just showed you something old. We're about to show you something very new. If you've been watching this show for any period of time, you'll know that we are huge fans of the Doosan-developed transparent bucket concept. The ability to effectively see through the bucket and the material within could make a huge contribution to site safety. But what if technology could allow you to see through an underground mine? What if technology could allow machine operators to effectively see round corners in those mines? Well, that technology exists today and it's being used. Kind of down under, if you get my meaning.
OzMinerals partnered with Mobilaris because we saw the huge potential in the products Mobilaris were developing to basically take the lid off some of the constraints that we have underground. Underground we have a physical constraint is that you can't see around corners, you can't see through rock. So understanding where things are, where people and machines are, is a lot more difficult than in a typical workplace on the surface. We knew that by giving operators a tool to better understand where they are and where other people are, they could become more efficient and safer in their day-to-day operations. So here at Carrapateena we've implemented Mobilaris Situational Awareness, which is the backbone for the suite of Mobilaris products. It allows you to see live at any point in time where all the equipment and people are in the mine, and also navigate to locations such as production locations, development locations and refuge chambers. Recently we've just implemented Mobilaris on board. It's a tablet in a vehicle which allows the user to navigate around the mine but also to see where other people are in the mine at any point. We expect that Mobilaris on board specifically will make our mine more productive and safer. The tool allows the operator in the cab to be able to see where his teammates are around him at any point in time. This is another piece of information that operator can use to make a decision. It might be as simple as, I'm going to pull into this stockpile earlier. It might be, I didn't realise that loader was there, so I'm going to make another radio call. All of these minute decisions add up to a more productive and safer workplace.
One of the main benefits for this Mobilaris is it actually cuts the downtime of waiting. Knowing and seeing that when there's traffic coming up on the decline, using that Mobilaris and stuff, it helps a lot better. We're able to actually travel down a lot faster and get to our locations.
I actually like the ease in practicality. Sometimes, there's a lot of chatter on the radio, so it's easy just to zoom in, zoom out, and actually find out for yourself what's coming up. So you don't have to, yourself be part of that dense radio chat.
In the control room, we currently have a haulage controller position where they track each of the trucks and send them to locations on where to get loaded. You can see trucks going up and down the decline and inside levels. You can then track how close the trucks are to each other to send them to different locations so they don't have to queue, depending on where they are in the mine, with that real-time information.
It can be used in several ways from our end, from as simple as someone searching for a piece of equipment and that downtime has been cut down now to only a short few seconds while we search. Our cycle times have improved, especially as our fleet has grown over the last sort of year to 18 months. It has improved. Just being aware of who is where and how busy it can get down there.
The implementation of Mobilaris from 3 years ago to where we are now, the actual infrastructure has been a fairly light touch. There are some configurations, but the actual core infrastructure required to run Mobilaris has been fairly standard, and there's been no out-of-the-box surprises as far as what we require: basic servers, basic networks using Cisco wireless LAN controllers.
What's surprised me is the range of different use cases that have come out of the woodwork since we've delivered onboard. We've not just installed Mobilaris onboard in trucks and loaders and jumbos. We've put this in every light vehicle, light truck, IT. We've got almost 150 tablets in vehicles underground at this point in time. So we've found people that have come forward and said, I use this in my inductions to show people around the mine. I use this because I'm a new starter, so I like to type in the location I want to go to and it allows me to navigate to that spot. And then the feedback we expected with the truck drivers and loaders operating in busy environments, which was that they can more clearly see where other people are and help avoid unwanted interaction. This software allows you to lift the lid and make the the whole workplace more transparent so people can see on their screen where vehicles and other people are. They couldn't do this before.
Mind-blowing use of technology. Kind of makes you wonder where it'll all end. What will it take to blow our minds in 10 or 20 years' time? And maybe we'll get a clue at Intermat 2024, which is coming up in just a moment. I want to address this one from Mick Norton, who says, the ability to see around corners. Do we rely on technology or get the operator to leave his cab and check? I know what you're saying. Personally, if the tech can do the job, keep the man in the cab. That's what I say, but I understand exactly where you want to go. Chris Ford, you wouldn't be able to stop for a piss without someone on your back. That is very true. We've actually had somebody waving the white flag on our machine of the day, which was Dan Cullen. More guesses. And I'll tell you now, okay, so we've had here somebody's guessed a John Deere 544K. It is not. It's not a JCB. It's not a Komatsu. It's not a Cat. It's not a New Holland. Think about, and I know somebody guessed Volvo and somebody's also guessed Liebherr. Think about all of the major manufacturers. There is one major manufacturer that none of you have mentioned so far. None of you have mentioned it whatsoever. Let me throw it back up on the screen, get rid of that, and I'll give you a bit more. That's what you've got to work with. But as I say, there is one, enormous manufacturer that you haven't even mentioned yet. And I'm going to say a very quick good morning to Tristan Mays, who says, good morning, Mark, you legend. I think he means you lot. Hope you're all well. Yes, all well here. I asked him, how is the land of the free and the home of the brave treating him? Apparently, he's back in the UK. Welcome. It is not a Cat. It is not a Doosan or a Devlin. It is not a Cat. It is not an XCMG. Oh, seriously, guys, you are going to kick yourselves because it is a huge manufacturer that you haven't mentioned yet. Unbelievable. I'm going to go over to Intermat and stuff in a second. If you haven't got it soon, I win. Dan Cullen, it is not a Lugong. And Mick Norton says, any more cluster in the modern cabs and will be likened to Houston control in Texas. It's bordering on ridiculous and in many cases will affect safety adversely. I agree. I agree with that bit, certainly. Now somebody has finally nailed down the right manufacturer. It is Hitachi, but I want more than that. Lou, it is not a Mechalak. While you're mulling that over, I'm taking it away and I'm going to go to France. I do need to show you this. Ken Hatcher says, I got it, back to work. No, you didn't. You got the right manufacturer. I need a model number. And I'll tell you now, it is not a 15-tonner. It is not an Hitachi 500. I want specific model numbers. Shall I give you one more? I think I can do this without giving the game away. Yeah, there is a little bit more. Peter is not paying attention. It is not a Hydromec. It is Hitachi. What we need is a model number. We need a model number. Let me take that away. Intermat 2024, as you've just seen. Now, so close I can almost smell the diesel and the garlic and the cheese and the wine and all of those good things. Now, back in 2018, those fine folks at Volvo brought the show to a standstill with an absolutely fantastic display. So I've dug through our archives of our Diggers and Dozers channel, and I'm delighted to share that action with you now. Now, I do need to dredge this off of my... no, I tell you what, let me stop right there. We do have a winner. I tell you now, Peter McKenna has got the right machine, the right model, and everything. Yeah, I mean, it's actually a -7, but I'll show you now. There we are. That's the machine you were working with. There's another bit. There's another bit. And I cheated because I took the color out, because that's what it really looks like. The orange would have been a dead giveaway, I guess, but it is. Peter McKenna, pat yourself on the back. It is a ZW220-7 from Hitachi. Well done, that man. Now, as I was just saying, I am going to say good morning to Steel Wrist Official, who have just joined us. I'm sure they're just here to hang out with Gary Muirhead, to be perfectly honest. But good morning to our friends over at Steel Wrist. I'm going to take that away, and I do need to dredge this one off my hard drive, so bear with me for 1 second. It is, let me see. Just talk amongst yourselves, because it is this one right here. It was quite the show, and I realise that idea of tipping up the rear end of an ADT doesn't serve any practical purpose, but always impressive when they do it. I've seen it on I think I've seen it on 3 different. I was going to say 3 continents. I haven't seen it on 3 continents, but I've certainly seen it up in Volvo land. I saw it over in I think ConExpo. They did it one year, and they've also done it at Balmer and at Intermat as well. Fantastic display. Well done to them. Now, that pretty much wraps up the main part of this morning's show. I'm going to roll the outro in just a second before leaping gazelle-like over into the chat to see what you're all saying today. If you can't stick around for that, then please stay safe. Look after yourself, your family, your friends, and your colleagues. Hope to see you again very, very soon. But if you do have the time and the inclination, I'll be back with the Craic immediately after this final word from our key show sponsor. I'm risking the music again. We did another test. I shut everything down yesterday afternoon. Shut it all down, shut the router down and everything else, and started it again, and everything seems to be behaving itself. Just keep your fingers crossed for us, would you? Good morning to everyone that has joined us. Let me go back to the very beginning of the chat. I don't know why the guesses are still coming in. Peter McKenna, no need to guess the ZW550 because you were absolutely right with the ZW220 ages ago, but well done. Right back to the very beginning of the chat. Dan Cullen, who apparently has claimed the crown for being the first here every single day now. Morning, Dan. How are we? I don't know about you, but I'm firing on all cylinders, which is surprising. I mentioned yesterday that my father-in-law is currently on he's on dialysis permanently now, but he was rushed into hospital last night. So yes, last night was a bit of a mess in the Demolition news towers, but we got past it, and he sat up taking a lightly boiled egg this morning, so he's not doing too badly. So get well soon, Phil. I know you're not watching, but it's the thought that counts. Gary Muirhead says, good morning, Mark. Good morning, everybody. I'll tell you now, and I didn't do it today because I'd already plugged it all in. Everything was ready for it. But Gary Muirhead came up with a question of the day last night that might just be the best question of the day ever. I'm probably going to save it until Friday, but it's a peach. It is a peach. Good morning to Gary. Good morning to Peter McKenna. Hope you're well. I know you're not. You've got a chest infection. Not called sick note for nothing. But yeah, get well soon, mate. Glenn Johnston is here as well. Morning, Glenn. Hope you're well. I don't know your chest situation, whatever the hell that means. Peter McKenna, yes, dazzled he is by the splendour of today's shirt. It's actually a running top, but I haven't been running for bloody ages. After I hurt my heels, hurt my ankles, and hurt my knees, haven't been running for about a year. But the top still kind of looks cool, in my opinion, at the very least. Mark Whiting is here as well. Good morning, Mike. Good morning, Mike. Good morning, Mark. Good morning, Mick. Mick Norton is in the house. Mick, I've seen your message over on Instagram. Thank you. Keep me posted. I will, as you've suggested. I will keep it under my hat, but very interesting. We'll keep you posted. Chris Ford says, morning, shiny, happy people. Shiny, happy people, says REM fan, possibly. Chris Ford, good morning. Yes, indeed. Good morning to Ken Hatcher, who has weather. My question of the day today, what is a thing that you believe to be totally overrated? And you could have gone anywhere with this. As I say, my thing, and this is not a personal attack on the lady. I'm sure she's smashing, and I'm sure her music is great. But I seem to see Taylor Swift everywhere, and I know nothing. Don't count me out here. I do still like modern music. Got a bit of a soft spot for Billie Eilish and Lana Del Rey and people like that. So I'm not doing this as an old fuddy-duddy. I'm just saying Taylor Swift seems to be absolutely everywhere, and I know nothing. I just believe it to be overrated. Take that as you will. Anybody else got anything? I'd love to hear from you. That's me saying good morning to a lot of people. The first answer on our question of the day. GPS, overrated, says Peter McKenna. God. Yes, God. All hype. Yeah, God, you see? All that creating the earth in 7 days or 6 days, whatever. Me and the Bible don't often cross paths. But yes, all of that business, yeah, he's overrated, that fella. Big beardy bloke up in the sky. Yeah. Let's have a look. Who else have we got? Question of the day. Dan Cullen says, influences on construction. Some I would agree with that. Yeah, some I would definitely agree with that. I'll just leave that floating there, I think. Mick Norton, question of the day. A very expensive wedding. Overrated, he reckons. Do I sense, Mick, that you've recently paid for an expensive wedding? I kind of sense some bitterness in your words there. Let's have a look. Footy is currently trying to sign up with another agency. No work yet. It just... I said it yesterday, and I'll say it again. And funnily enough, I was actually approached. Here is the situation, right? There was a guy watching yesterday's show in which I mentioned the skill shortage currently affecting the UK construction and demolition industry. And I was contacted by a guy who runs an agency, and that agency it has just one job, and that job is to bring experienced construction workers to the UK from South Africa. They have a business. They have a thriving business that brings South African construction workers from South Africa to the UK. I have no qualms about that. If they're good, if they're up to the job, fantastic. If he's got a successful business based on that, fantastic. But there's a guy based down in Devon, and I'm only using him as an example, who's already here. He's got his cards. He's got his experience. English is his first language. And yeah, our friend Footy is sat at home while South African operators are coming in from South Africa. Anybody would like to explain how that makes sense? I would love to hear from you. Peter McKenna, impressed by the Genesis attachments? Yeah, I only discovered yesterday that they're actually part of NPK now. Part of NPK. And I'm a big fan of NPK, even though they will never, ever speak to me. They don't. It's not me. It's not just me. I mean, there are certain manufacturers that flatly refuse to have anything to do with me. There's manufacturers I flatly refuse to have anything to do with. So it cuts both ways. But NPK, huge admirer of NPK, but they don't do a great deal in the way of press and marketing. Wish they would. Mick Norton says, with the walls falling in on the demolition industry, might you have to consider a change to your title, demolitionnews.com? Possibly. I mean, I have to say, when we named this show, obviously Break Fast, it was a play on breakfast, obviously, but break came from demolition and breakers and stuff, and that did go through my head. Not the fact that demolition would be likely to go away anytime soon, but I was trying to make it more of a demolition and construction and equipment type show. That was the idea, but we went with Break Fast Show. But yeah, the more it goes on, I mean, demolitionnews.com is seeing higher levels of traffic than it ever has in its 16 years of existence. Our Demolition Insider grows literally daily. So there is still lots and lots of interest out there, but I do wonder whether it's interest that is based upon what is happening in the industry, or people trying to get a sense of which way the wind is blowing. And please, I've taken it off the screen now, but I can put it back up again. Let's have a look if I can still do that. I believe I can. I've closed the page. My apologies. Yeah, this news on Building Magazine, the fact that Westminster is aiming to be a retrofit first council. So effectively, anybody wanting to do demolition work within Westminster is going to have to prove that is by far the most viable solution, both from a cost standpoint, from a sustainability standpoint, from a carbon reduction standpoint. They are going to have to jump through absolute hoops in order to get demolition work done in Westminster. And bearing in mind Westminster, it's where Parliament resides. You wouldn't be at all surprised if that was the first of many to go down that line. It is looking really tough out there. And I know I said it tongue-in-cheek, there is an NFDC AGM. I don't actually know the dates, but I would guess it will be later this month. And they're all going to get together and, pat each other on the back and hand out awards and show off their gongs and everything else. And as our friend Mick has rightly put it, the walls are tumbling. I'd like to think that they won't just stand there and fiddle while Rome burns, but up until now, that's precisely what they've done. I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, I made a point yesterday on LinkedIn. How do you go about organising an industry-wide meeting where an emergency meeting, where you set aside regional and association affiliations, just get the entire industry together and say, guys, we're under threat here. What are we going to do? Don't know how you go about doing that, but if anyone's got any suggestions, I'd love to hear from you. Loads and loads of guesses today on our mystery machine. But no, you were all wrong right up until Peter saved your bacon. Chris Ford says Google image search will be a meltdown. Where do you think I find the images in the first place? Precisely the same place. Dan Cullen enjoyed our Pignon, a cool piece of history and a great tune. Now, on that subject, Mick, I'm kind of looking at you because I know you are a man of a certain age. Does anybody have any recollection of the collapse of Fulham Power Station, or the collapse at Fulham Power Station? Apparently there was an accident at Fulham Power Station, and my guess is this would have been the early 1980s. Fulham Power Station, not surprisingly, a power station in Fulham in West London, was being demolished, and it collapsed. A couple of people were killed. And I've been trying to... I've been told that the accident itself and the reasoning behind it, it has been suggested to me, was kind of a precursor to precisely what happened at Discot. I can't prove that. I don't suppose they can prove that either, but it's an interesting point. But I've been online today for about an hour this morning, and aside from a silent Thames News report that shows the aftermath of the collapse, I can find no information whatsoever. Nothing at all. So if anybody can remember a collapse in the 80s, early 80s, I would guess, at the Fulham Power Station, please get in touch with you, because I am trying to find out more about it. So yes, please take that on board. Mick Norton did actually say the Pignon was called a sitting bull. It was. One of the terms of reference that I used was actually Nick Drew. Nick Drew over at Diggerman blog. He wrote about either he or one of his friends in Finland had spotted one of these. I think it was a larger model they'd spotted up in Finland, and he'd done a bit of digging and found out a little bit about it. So if you search for Pignon, P-I-N-G-O-N 12A, well, I think one of the first articles that comes up is our friend Mr. Drew. Don't see him around this way anymore, but Nick, if you are listening, have a good day, mate. Let's have a look what we got here. Good to see Luke Arney back in our midst. Stephen Guthrie back to catch a bit. Morning, folks, and then he was gone pretty soon after. Let's have a look. Loads. Mick, I know what you're saying. I do know what you're saying, and I kind of find myself sat on the fence with this one. Bearing in mind, hundreds of meters potentially underground, and potential of falling rock. Do you really want people getting out where there are other machines working, potential of rocks falling and hurting or possibly killing you, or do you want to rely on technology? I know exactly what you're saying. I don't necessarily disagree with you, but I don't wholeheartedly agree with you either. If anybody had anything to add, please let us know. But that bit I certainly do agree with. Any more clutter in modern cabs will be likened to Houston controlling Texas. It's bordering on ridiculous, and in many cases will affect safety adversely. That, I think, is the telltale sign that we're still in very much the first iteration of some of this in-cab technology. I think if you fast forward, I mentioned this when I was in the run-up to the Intermat piece. I think if you attended an Intermat or a Bauma or a Conexpo in maybe 10 years' time, I'd like to think there would have been huge developments in emissions and emissions reduction and in alternative fuels. But one of the things I think that would be absolutely fantastic was if we could consolidate all of the tech within a machine into a single screen. And to have it I'm just trying to think what facilities. There are certain things on the setup of my wife's car where you can only do it with the engine off and the handbrake engaged. You can't do it while you're driving along. So you would have certain capabilities at your disposal for that. While you're just before you start your machine, you can select certain settings, but then once you start the machine and that machine is in motion, those functions are no longer available to you. So it might be a case of here's your setup, choose your attachment, choose your revs, choose your this, that, and the other, and everything else. Start the machine, that screen goes away, and you're now looking at operational things like oil pressure and oil temperature and revs and specific fuel consumption and stuff like that. And then maybe when you switch attachments, your attachment screen comes up, but it's all on the one screen. But you only get to see that screen when you're doing a specific thing. If anybody's listening out there from the world of technology, that's the way we should be going. Patent Mark Anthony, Demolition News 2024. Thank you very much. More and more guesses on our mystery machine. None of them right up until we got our friend Peter. Now, on the subject of Peter, we showed you the Volvo dump trucks. Rather have a bell dumper, he says. I used to run rings around the Volvo lads. Not sure most would agree with that. They'll make a very good truck, but to my mind, Volvo is kind of, it's the BMW. It is the pinnacle as far as ADTs are concerned. Peter McKenna, you should restart your router at least once a week. I used to restart it as often as once a day because we were having a few issues. But yeah, it can go weeks and weeks with no problem at all. And what annoys me the most is, and I'm sure this is an extension of Sod's Law, modern technology, when I'm here at 6:30, 7 o'clock, or whatever it might be, and I go through all the usual bits like the animation for our mystery machine and the question of the day and stuff like that, and everything always plays right. And if it doesn't play right, I shut it down and restart it and then make sure it starts again. I did that yesterday. Everything was absolutely fine, and then it wasn't. Peter McKenna says, sorry, Mark, missed you saying I've got it. That was the ZW220-7. His phone rang. Oh, that's understandable. If he's claiming to be there every day, is it going to be Saturday as well? We are due on... It's not... Is it this Saturday? It is, yeah, we're here on Saturday. Dan Cullen says, suits you that top, should wear it more often. I'll take that under consideration. Thank you very much indeed, Dan. Question of the day, what is a song you pretend you don't like because it's embarrassing that you love? Good question. Really good question. Personally, Total Eclipse of the Heart by Bonnie Tyler would be one. You know, it's naff and it's overblown, but put it on when I'm in the car on my own and I will sing along at the top of my voice. I mean that seriously. Any others? I'll give that some thought. Peter McKenna says, they keep getting it wrong on the site. They've reported the GPS 15 times up to now. They poured concrete yesterday and then found out today that it's 40 to 50 millimetres too low from the prepped ground, having to re-dig the remainder. Yeah, it's crap in, crap out. That's how technology works. Things that are overrated. Gary Muirhead offers. Michael McIntyre. Have I said I can't stand the Absolute Muppet? You may have mentioned it in passing previously. Let's have a look. Wow, I thought it was named as would be on at breakfast at 10 a.m, which is why, that is precisely why I pronounce it break fast. I could have gone, let's face it, there are lots of breakfast shows on the TV and on radio. I could have gone with breakfast, but I thought I was literally I think the first ever Breakfast show started on a Monday, and I think on the Saturday evening I decided, Breakfast show, aren't I clever? That's a fantastic idea, and that's where it came from. It was literally a case of, and I do remember saying to Fred, I've got a fantastic name for the show, and he went, go on then. And I said, the Breakfast show. And he looked at me and just shook his head. Like, is that really the best you can do? I may have told you this story before, so shout and tell me if I'm boring you. But I used to do a lot of work with Rammer back in the day. And there was a guy I worked for, he was Mr. Rammer here in the UK, a guy called Alan Matchett, ex of Black Lodge and various other companies as well. Alan Matchett is an absolutely smashing guy, but a complete enthusiast about Rammer. And in the run up to an SED show, he phoned me, as he often did, phoned me about 8 o'clock one night, and he said, I've had a spectacular idea for our display at SED. So I said, yeah, okay. And he said, no, you need to be prepared for this. It is a fantastic, this is going to blow your socks off. I've had such a great idea. Well, go on then, Alan. Well, we're going to do a barbecue on the stand. I said, yes. He said, well, we're going to give away burgers. And I said, yes. He said, but they won't be called hamburgers. We're going to call them Ramburgers. And there was a momentary pause while I allowed that to sink in. And then I said, oh, that's great, Alan. Well done on that. Ramburgers. But come the day of the show, he was still enthused. We had signs up for get your Ramburgers here. Yeah, that really happened. The problem is too many people are too stuck up to actually do something as they feel they will get more jobs. Let's go back to the demolition thing. Yeah, but the worry is, and I've already written a piece for tomorrow, actually. There is a certain safety in numbers and in unity, and as it stands at the moment, I think because everybody is within the demolition industry is working on this, every man for himself. So long as I can stay one step ahead of the bailiff, then maybe somebody else will be collared instead. But I do think, if you could get the industry together and say, guys, we really are under threat here. Rather than bending over and taking it up the rear from all and sundry, we should probably just get our heads together and start to lay down some rules of our own. But I see no signs of it happening. And I think that's where you've got an issue with organisations like the NFDC. The NFDC, and I'm sure there are some people among the 125 odd members that it now has, declining all the time. I'm sure there are some people within the NFDC who think they are doing a fantastic job on their behalf. But the NFDC is it's less than a quarter of the entire population of UK demolition contractors. And if they're not doing anything for their members, then nobody's doing anything for anybody. Somebody needs to stand up and be counted. I talk about it, but it's not, I'm just a bloke in a silly hat and a loud shirt. It needs somebody to show some bloody leadership around here. Mick Norton says, an old plant operator who worked with blue top pegs, sight rails and batter boards in the 1960s. I got myself reverse mentored by a young dozer operator who taught me the basics of GPS when I was 72 years of age. As with the old pegs and boards, GPS is only as good as the input. Yeah, totally agree. Dan Cullen says there is no teamwork anymore in construction demolition. Demo, as one man gets sacked, men get sacked as self-employed. Not sure what that means, but no teamwork, and no. There on the ground, I think at site level, I think there is still that camaraderie, but you do get the sense that actually at company level, it is very much dog eat dog, every man for himself. And if I've got to tread on you to secure my next 6 months worth of work, then that's precisely what I'll do. I'll shake your hand and I'll be nice to you, but I will crap on you if that's what it takes to keep me busy. how long before you're no longer busy as well? That's the worry. People, that's going to do us. I don't know quite what's going on at the hospital with my father-in-law, but I'm going to cut it. I was going to say cut it short. We're already over an hour, so I'm going to love you and leave you. I will be back tomorrow, all things being equal, assuming he is released from hospital, and that is certainly the hope. But I'm going to go and make myself available, because chances are somebody's going to have to go and pick him up from A&E, where he spent most of the night in the corridor. And that is not a dig at the NHS. That is a dig at the people who have underfunded the NHS. Just so you know. Right, people, go and have a fantastic day. I should be a bit more muted in my colour palette tomorrow, no doubt. Tune in, have a look. Till then, everybody, have a fantastic day. Congratulations to Peter McKenna on getting the right answer on our mystery machine, the Hitachi ZW220-7. Chris Ford says, wish everyone well, see you tomorrow. Thank you very much indeed, Chris. I'll see you. Hope he's okay. Send him my best. Graham, I will do precisely that. Everybody, go and have a fantastic day. Thank you for joining us over on Instagram. Thanks for joining us on Twitter, on Facebook, on YouTube, and on LinkedIn. We are everywhere. We're like Taylor Swift, only we are not overrated. Mainly because we're not rated at all. People, go and have a fantastic day. See you soon. All the best.